Here we go, guys. Summertime is upon us. So what happens about summer viewings? Well, we're going to talk about standing out from the crowd and the best season for selling in Fife. Okay, what we've got on today is we've got Perry on today. Perry, how are you?
I'm fabulous. The sun's shining, Jim, so it's always a good plan when the day starts off well with the sunshine, isn't it?
It's perfect, eh? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
So the reality is summer's upon us, the best time to sell in the year, the best time to be an estate agent. Blue skies, warmer temperatures, the nature in bloom make photos look brilliant. The homes look their best for the lighter nights, fuel faster decisions and fewer viewings in the dark. I mean, that's what was holding things off most of the time, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big no-no, isn't it? Because people want to see the house in all its glory and they want to see the garden, they want to be able to enjoy it, get the feel for it. And it's difficult to do that when it's kind of dark and dull. And the house always seems a bit more cluttered in the darkness, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it a lot easier. So I always say to people that goes from day to day rather than week to week, that tends to be what it goes in the when nights get darker as well. So summer is the best time to do this. I mean, spring has really risen in the property market. A lot of properties come onto market so far, haven't they?
Yeah, we've definitely noticed an upsurge on that just now. Certainly, even when we're speaking to conveyancers, surveyors, everyone's saying, whew, stepping up the game now because it's getting busier, and we're finding that with the team as well. We're really absolutely have to be on our game and organise each day because it's getting very popular and very busy. Because it's the right time to do it, isn't it?
It is the right time to do it. I mean, we often talk about people, we often say as well, springtime's the right time to do it, winter time's the right time to do it, autumn's the right time to do it. But it is the right time. Yeah, it is the right, every time's the right time. When you ask me when's the best time to sell my house, I will always say now. Yes. Because proportionally it's always the same, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's just different reasons and different benefits from doing it, no matter what time now is.
Yeah, perfect. And we've got Jimmy here joining us as well. How are you, Jimmy?
Yeah, great, thanks. Sorry I'm a bit late.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, with so many positives, it's no wonder the summertime is the year when lots of people decide to sell. As more homes come onto the market and the competition hots up with the weather, I mean, especially this type of weather just now, oh my God, it's like I'm sitting in East Nuke and I'm thinking, welcome to God's country.
Oh, Jim. See the people.
Andrews yesterday, and it's like we were sitting out the back garden, and I says, maybe I could just not leave.
I noticed that in the pre-portal you did yesterday. You could have been back in Spain again. The sky was just gloriously blue at that property. Everything just shines more, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, as the homes come into the market, the competition does hot up with the weather, and the name of the game is actually standing out from the crowd instead of getting lost in it. I mean, I always talk about getting lost in translation. If your photographs are boring, if your description's boring, if your video introduction is silent movies, and what I mean by a video with accompanying music, bling, 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 that's the guy playing on the piano. It's like, that's effectively what people use right now. That is silent movies. Get yourself into talking pictures. Is exactly what we do. We talk and engage with people. And that's the key here, to get and stand out from the crowd. So don't get lost in translation. Make sure you stand out from the crowd. So in short, now is the time to sell your home and get it to shine as well in the process. See how I look at that? Summertime, sunshine, night, shine.
The living is easy.
Jimmy, summertime, what's it all about?
Well, you get a lot of people from 2 months ago, that's the better weather coming out, that their garden's looking a bit better, that all of a sudden rush to get it on the market. There's definitely people feel their property are more attractive from the external than it was just a few months ago. So I think the numbers are, I think we was averaging about 500 properties on the market, and now we're up to about 580 active in Fife. So you're definitely seeing that surge, is what you're saying. But you're right in what you're saying. This is the time where people do list their properties, and there is an influx of the market. So 80% of interaction now on portals, which is websites like Rightmove, Zoopla, is video. So even I'm seeing some properties right now that don't even have video. So you're 80%, you're in that bottom 20%. So what are you doing to try and get your sold and stand out?
Perfect. Perry, what is summer all about?
Oh, for me, it's about capturing the light, isn't it? And it's making the most of nature as well. And it's connecting the inside of the property with outside. And I'm actually going through that journey myself at the moment, and I'm finding it really quite energizing because, as you know, we moved in October, so it was kind of winter time and the garden was a blank canvas. Nothing really has been done to it. So now we're starting to do all that planning piece, and we've done a little bit of a reconnect with some of the garden, and I'm starting to see the blossoms come now, and it's making a big difference. And I'm quite excited about taking outdoors, you know, and making it indoors and making it outdoors and kind of connecting the two pets. So, you know, getting those right is a big plus. And I think that will help you in regards to how you can go from getting the best outcome from the sale of your property. So this week's blog is exactly all about that. And we'll talk you through how you can find your perfect buyer and how we can help motivate you to get the house to shine.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're already looking to sell your home this summer, I mean, clearly we'd love to be a part of the move, and this is why we tell people all about this. But hopefully we can demonstrate clearly to you that we are actually the people to do that. So front of house, let me talk about this. Curb appeal is everything. It sets the tone for the viewing. It creates the first vital and first impression when a buyer arrives outside. Now, they always say you never get a first chance to make a second chance to make a good first impression. Yeah, well, you actually do get a second chance to make a good first impression, but we'll not tell you about that today. That's on another show, but you can contact us for that. So if you think you've lost out the first time, it's always best to contact us, and we will tell you how to get the first impression on the second chance as well. That's clearly here. Back in 2017, a one-poll survey found that 6 out of 10 potential buyers rejected a house before they even walked through the door. It was all about the curb appeal. That also rings true today. Those first few moments are hugely vital and influential in anybody actually saying, yeah, this is the place for me. It's that thing. Now, it's not definitely, oh, I'm going to buy this. This is perfect. It's just that it ticks that box straight away saying, yep, I love this place straight away. It's the right location. I can see the sun shining down, where it's going to be, and where it is in proximity to everything else. And that's the initial curb appeal of a property. You can't really we can convey that in video, but you can't really convey that in a picture. Ultimately, and that's the key here. So it's the first impression that counts. We can tell by the look on someone's face whether they're impressed or not as we step inside the door with them. That's a key here as well, isn't it? I always talk about that, how some people actually employ just people to open a door to do viewings, but in essence, I actually feel that we should always do the viewings because we know about the property, we know about the area, and we know about the person coming to see it.
We do. I think as well, I mean, the body language from a potential buyer is so obvious from the get-go. And again, go back to what you said there, Jim, about the relationship that we have with our potential buyers as well. We know what they're looking for. We know what's ticking their boxes because we've done all that qualification piece. And when we get them there, we've got a good idea of whether we think it's going to tick for them or not. And actually, on some occasions, we'll have that discussion where actually maybe it's not the right thing, or maybe it doesn't tick so many boxes. But as soon as they stand outside, you do get a vibe from them instantly that tells you we're on the right track here. Yes, it was the right thing to do, or not. Or we focus on the things that we need to emphasize could work and what they could do to change it to then untick it so that it's not a negative and it becomes a positive for them.
I mean, the sun highlights every single detail, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, it's great when it comes out in sunshine, but then when you look at your windows, you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I better get the windows clean. But that is the key. I mean, the sun does highlight all these different things, making your home that. So it's key to get that fresh paint and that glisten. Basically, what your home's saying to the buyer is, I'm a home that's loved. Yes. That's what it comes down to, isn't it?
It is.
So, on the other hand, exterior maintenance often feels like work and expense, and then it's true, but it can even make buyers wonder about how problems that aren't even there. So that does, isn't it? It's the old thing I always used to say about, my dad always used to say to me, when you go to see a car, if you see one fault, you'll probably be guaranteed there's 2 faults that you don't see. And I think does that resonate today with anybody? Does anybody think about like that? Is that your experience?
It does resonate a little bit. It's like my mum used to always say, once you start picking at a scab, you keep on going until the whole thing's uncovered. So it's the same thing though, isn't it?
Oh,
it's the same thing. Oh, I know. Yeah. But actually, it's true what we're saying, because I had and then you flip that to the other extremes. Then I did a viewing at a property recently that was just so classily done. I mean, everything about it was just fantastic. But then the viewer got a little bit cynical, to be honest, and then said, why is everything so tidy? Why is everything so clean?
Yeah.
What's behind all this cleanness? And I was thinking, no, this is their home. This is how they live. It's just,
That's a bit cynical.
There's no children live here. That's maybe what it was.
Is it like, you know, check for the flaking paintwork on the front doors or the windows or any water stained render, then put them right. That's the key. So make sure when you're doing that, make sure your curb appeal looks right, and that's what you check for. Just all these different things. I mean, even the sills, a lot of the time sills get a lot of battering. I mean, the rest of the frame's fine on the window, but you usually find the sills get it all the time, especially if you've got timber and conservation areas, or you know, so you can't really change anything from to a UPVC finishing. So that's probably instrumental as well. If you've got UPVC as well, just wash it down. You do get really good. I mean, some UPVC stains quite a lot, doesn't it? So, but you do get, you know, you do get stuff to take stains off now, don't you, and bring it back to its natural white.
You definitely do, and we see that a lot when we go across the East Nuke, obviously, because you've got a lot of birds flying around. So there's a lot of staining with the pigeons and the seagulls. But you know, that can be corrected and can be cleaned. But you're right. But even if you have got wood though, Jim, there's a really easy fix with that, because all you need to do, even if you are in a conservation area, you don't need to replace it. You can just mend it and then repaint it, you know, and what a difference it makes. Just makes it pop a wee bit more.
Yeah, what's your experiences, Jimmy, when the front of house and curb appeal?
I would say what you're saying about windows, external, but like for my own house, don't know what sort of bush or hedge you would call it. I've got one going all the way down the front of my house, and I've got one all the way down the side. We left it for a little while, and it was getting all ragged. And I was left the drive one day, forgot something. I pictured across the road, which has got exactly all the hedge, and theirs were all prim and proper. And I looked at mine, and I thought, no, that's not right. I'm going to come out at the weekend, and I'm going to get all those done. So I did we've done one half. We need to do the other half because it filled up the brown bin. That's how much there was. But even little hedges and trimming them and weeding the driveway, if it's between monoblocks or stone chips, those little things make a huge difference.
It does make a huge difference. I mean, you know, the weeds grow pretty fast at this time of year. You almost like blink or turn your back for a second, and it's like the weeping angels of a Doctor Who. It's like you turn your back or close your eyes for a second, and they're up. The weeds are in full bloom. It's like, whoa, where did you come from? But that's literally with a combination of the weather. It just like springs like that.
It's been rainy and it's been warm, so it does make a big difference.
So decoration is also one thing as well, but accessorizing is the sizzle that warms your welcome up. I mean, you're the accessorizing person, Perry. Yeah. I saw you smiling straight away when I was about to say that, and I thought, you're the accessories. I'm just like Magnolia and your Battleship Great Kate, kind of that sort of thing. So you know, what do you think about decoration? I mean, what should we be doing?
For me, I mean, it definitely warms up the welcome. You're right. You can't go wrong with seasonal flowers. For me, that's a big thing. I had nothing like that in my front area. And then literally, even if you've got a grass area, it doesn't need to be expensive. One of the things you can do is even just take a border of the grass out and put some nice blooms in there. I've done that just on one edge of the garden, and what a difference it's made. And a couple of things just hanging on the fence, don't overload it, because then it can actually take away from the kind of tastefulness of it as well. But it is all about making it look nice. It's, whatever age your home is, blooms make it look nice on the outside, don't they? I love petunias, but then I also really love carnations. I love the smell of a carnation as well. So if you're walking up someone's path and they've got a border and you get that scent, already we've talked about emotive senses, haven't we, in connecting with properties, and already your senses are connecting in a positive way with the property, aren't they? Because you're getting these lovely smells and nice colours. So doing that in the pathway, I think, is a good thing. Hanging baskets trailing is a good thing. Begonias I love. I can never grow them. My mum used to grow them really well, but for me, I just never seem to get them looking beautiful. But they're nice by your front door because they last forever and they don't supposedly take much care, but I still can't get it right. Window boxes are a good thing. You see that a lot along the Snook, don't you, with all these little fishing kind of townhouses, which I think always looks grand. Geraniums, again, a really nice thing, and they all look fantastic. But I think it's, again, just don't overload it, but get some colour in there. And that doesn't need to be expensive. People are putting their properties on the market are thinking about their next place, and they're maybe upsizing, and they're going to be spending. So, they're thinking, actually, we don't want to do anything really that's going to cost us, because we're going to need the money at the other side. But actually, this is a minimal effort for a massive impact in actually the curb appeal and getting someone to bond and connect with the property.
Somebody actually said to me that actually get a wee bag of seeds and stick them in your monoblock. So instead of weeds growing up, you actually, you get wee geraniums or something like growing up in between your monoblock.
I was going to say to you about it, because I did it on the curb at the front of ours, and what a difference it makes rather than the weeds coming up.
And even in things like your stone chips and that, because you know yourself, weeds always come up, even though you put a barrier down. They always come up somehow. I don't know why. They just find a way. It's like water finds a way no matter what, and then weeds find a way no matter what. I mean, we could all. I know it sounds daft in a positive mental attitude way. Weeds always are quite determined and disciplined, and always constantly grow, and they'll always find a way to succeed in what they're doing. Kind of like that positive mental attitude. Let's talk about this first impression again. Okay. Well, we talked about this, and I says I wasn't going to tell you about the second chance to make a good first impression. But guess what? It's about flooding the light. You actually get a second chance. Walking into the entrance hall, which is flooded with natural light, is an excellent follow-up to your curb appeal. It can bolster your positive thoughts and rescue negative ones from the buyer themselves. Leaving every interior door open will put natural light into every possible source from the back, from the side, even from above. Open doors create a sense of flow, make your home feel bigger, and all about warm welcoming guests. That's really what it comes down to, doesn't it? It's just about making them feel that, it just follows on with that first impression, that nice flood. Now, I used to say to everybody, close all the doors so you can control the viewing. And sometimes that actually is the right thing to do, depending on how many people are piling into a property, because then you've got them running all over the place, and you can't really control the way that you want it to go. However, on this occasion, when sometimes you've just got that natural light and you've got a dingy hallway, open all the doors, let all the light flood in, use a couple of mirrors here and there to bounce off. We're going to talk about that a wee bit more later on, but that's really the golden things to do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was at a property the other day, and again, it goes back to the start of the programme when we were talking about going from winter to summer and how your rules do need to change a little bit. Because in the wintertime, we're going in instantly and we're putting all the lights on and we're opening everything up and we're making it look nice and cozy, because that's what people want to see in the winter. But in the summer, they want to see that brightness and the naturalness of a house. And I did the viewing the other day, and every door was open, and I actually didn't need to put any lights on in this property. The natural light flow coming through the property was great, and it was just bouncing off every item of furnishings, walls, and it just looked fantastic.
Yeah.
But what I did in regards to the hallway piece of it as well is, you're right, Jim, sometimes it can get a bit cluttered in a hallway with the bodies. But I think the key is as well, as us as the kind of shower of the property, is you can just say to them, and you can point them in the direction of that room and let them walk in themselves. You go in behind them. You don't go in there and create a barrier between the room and the viewer. And it's making sure that they get to see it in all its glory when they first go in.
Yeah. I mean, clean windows and stuff like that, capture the most daylight. So as I said before, there's nothing, to me, there's nothing more off-putting if you've got a fantastic view and all of a sudden the sun catches the window when you're looking out, and then it just looks all the streaks all over the place and it's all dusty and murky. It just doesn't look the part at all. So definitely get them done weekly if necessary, especially if you're selling. I mean, you don't need to do them all the time if you're no selling. It's entirely up to yourself. But if you're selling, it's top tips is do it. Because the first 4 weeks are probably key and essential in making sure you get the right impression for your property. So I would have somebody actually doing them every single week, if not do them yourself. It lets the extra light come in through the polished panes. They evaluate everything inside your buyer as well, and it also improves the view on the outside. As I said, there's nothing more off-putting if you've got a fantastic view of a beach or of a harbour or of I was going to say Fife coastal path. that's my intro. That's my intro. It's like beach, Fife coastal path and harbour. It improves views outside. Exposing as much glass as possible will maximise results. So keep your curtains pulled back. Make sure you pull them back as much as possible. First thing I do, make sure you pull up all the blinds, let all the natural light flood in as well when you're doing the viewing as well. For people do the viewings themselves, let all the natural light come in itself as well. Jimmy, for any room that needs that extra help, what bright ideas can we try?
If I was to give some tips, I would say, as you've already touched on, hanging a mirror to reflect the light from the windows will give additional depth to a room, making it feel bigger and brighter in one fell swoop. Another one I would say is a large and colourful canvas print can brighten up a room as well. Changes a tone and a vibe, and it's a quick 5-minute job, and it's really does make a big difference. I've seen it a few times before when I've been showing people around and even valuing houses, and my mood changes as soon as I see a really nice canvas. Even if you're not up for completely redecorating a room as well, painting a single wall as like a feature wall with a light color can transform a room as well. I've talked about that before, about a couple of properties, even a room, not a lighter color works as well, but someone even painted a feature wall black, which really worked for that room as well.
See, that doesn't sound right, but for some reason in some houses it actually works, doesn't it?
Yeah, because they had this room painted black, but they had the canvas above the bed on the feature wall as well. So it just felt really calm and soothing in the bedroom, actually. So that was really good. And then summer tone textiles for like cushions and throws. I know, Perry, you're into your throws. And table runners to soften the appearance as well was really, really good. And light coloured rugs can also help with on the floor as well, which go big, go as big as you can.
I mean, light coloured rugs can actually revitalise a floor, can't it? I mean, sometimes you've got this drab floor. Perry, you've probably got experience of that. You've got a really drab floor, and then all of a sudden put this light coloured rug on, and boom, it just pops.
It just booms, absolutely. And actually, it doesn't just work inside the home, and you see this quite frequently now. Even if you've got a garden area and you've got a decking that maybe needs a little bit of attention, you actually can get now outside rugs that look fantastic. And when you put them down in your garden furniture on it, it just turns it into a completely different space.
Yeah. A quick comment from Andrea. This is actually quite a good one because I get caught in this all the time. Don't view a property with reaction light lenses, as the room will always look dark. Because I often go outside and I walk in the door and my glasses are tinted completely, and I'm like, it's okay dark in here, and it's like, oh no, it's just my glasses that I'm having to adjust. So really good tip there, Andrea. Perry, do we want to talk about what about rooms, keeping rooms fresh and cool? Do you want to cover that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, buyers will stay longer in your home if they feel comfortable in there, won't they? And they'll like it more the longer that they're in there. And when the temperature is comfortable, it's enjoyable for them to be in the space, so they're not kind of reacting and rushing, and they can actually visualize themselves being in it. If it's too hot, they're going to be out. It's a negative feeling towards the house. If it's too cold, it's a negative feeling towards the house. So you want all this positive vibe all the time. So in the winter, it's about cranking up the heat, but in the summer, it's about letting it escape as well. So you don't want to have all your windows and doors open where the house feels drafty and cold. You still want some warmth in there, but you definitely need it to be airy and
that's
make it feel
especially when it comes to a conservatory.
Yeah,
often people don't realise when the conservatory, and then you walk straight into the conservatory and the heat hits you, and immediately as a buyer, and a buyer's perspective, when I walk in and it's intense, I think first thing I look for is there any windows and doors, and if there's no windows and doors, I think this is going to be an oven when it comes to summer, and that could often put a lot of people off, couldn't it?
Well, it does, because all of a sudden then it's not a usable space, is it?
Yeah. What's your experience of that, Jimmy?
I would say you're right there, but when I've got an empty property coming onto the market, if it's winter, I always speak to the client about, well, can they control how they're going to work the heating? Because if we're taking buyers there in the winter and it's cold, then they're not going to get that warm feeling as soon as they walk through the door. The temperature's going to feel down. They're going to come in and maybe raining, and it's automatically going to set the mood down for the viewing. So empty property.
That's why strategically you work out where the sun is going to be, ideally on the conservatory when you do the viewing.
Yeah.
Job done. Sorted. Oh, it's rather warm in here. It's like that all year round.
But there are ways you can control that. I mean, maintaining a gentle through draft, as I said, will keep the inside of your home cool, but it also keeps the air refreshed. So you don't want it feeling all hot and stuffy and it's been closed up perhaps all day, and you're doing the viewing towards the end of the day and it's been a really hot day, and you walk in and you get that kind of, it's a bit murky and stale kind of smell because everything's been closed up. So all you've got to do is leave your windows open securely, of course, obviously, but slightly ajar, a couple of them, which is giving a bit of air coming through the house. preferably facing the opposite direction to encourage a natural airflow as well, which is a good thing. So, you know, have them so they're connecting and you've got that air flowing through the property rather than all blasting in one segment and then the other half of the house is warm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know, for any rooms that get the sun all day long, what would we be doing there? Curtains
For
and
me, it's
blinds,
about keeping your curtains, keeping your curtains and blinds closed as much as you can to keep out the heat. We're always happy to arrive a few minutes early as well. I mean, we tend to get to a property beforehand anyway, because we like to go in and make sure that it's secure and it's sound. So when we get there, again, as long as the seller is okay with that and we know what we're doing, you know, we can open everything up and let the light in. So that's not an issue. We can open the curtains, open the blinds, open a window, let some air and light and everything coming in. But if they're kept closed during the day when the property's empty, it certainly keeps all that stuffy heatness out.
What about things like plants? What about things like plants and that? You know, what would the plants play an important role in this? You know, or are they just harbours for dust, like some people say?
No, I mean, I think they're nice to look at. They bring some colour, but I think they do quite a bit of natural foliage in regards to how they monitor the room. They lose water during transpiration. Sorry, I can't even say the word, which helps purify and cool the air in the property, and it cools down the room, which is another good thing. Not to mention the fact, obviously, they look great, but you know, so they do have a natural ergonomic help to the room in regards to cooling it and warming it up, depending on what it is that you're looking for it to do.
Probably as well. I mean, I was sitting in St Andrews yesterday in a person's house, and they were talking about should I take the flowers away because I'm going to be away for a few weeks, and I'm like, well, no, really, because we can take care of that to make sure. So if they obviously go out, you know, if they do wilt or anything like that, we could pep that up when we're doing viewings. And it says, well, really, and it made a fundamental difference because you then take them away, and then you look at the room without the flowers, and folk go, oh, it doesn't look as good. It's amazing how that just a bunch of flowers sitting on a table would make a fundamental difference, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, it makes a room pop. For me, it makes a room pop, and so do plants. And often I've said to sellers, if we know they're going away for a week or so and we're doing all the viewings while they're on holiday or what have you, then we say to them, just leave instructions and we can water the plants, we can change the water, we can do whatever you need to do when we're there, because we want the maximum impact. So we want it to look nice. We don't want everything looking kind of limp and lackluster. We want it to look bright and vibrant. So, you know, we're quite happy to do that at the end of the day.
Yeah, so this naturally leads me on to gardens. Garden glory, you know, what we're thinking about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I would. Well, that's the reason I bought my property. Everybody's thinking about life outside in the summer, from pins on the terrace to al fresco dining to reading a book in a hammock. I'm currently trying to build like a barbecue area in our garden. And it's becoming the biggest reason why people purchase a property in Fife almost. So this is why we're saying go for garden glory. More than anything else, having an inviting place to sit is what creates the impression of another room. So whether it's a small balcony or a large garden, a table and chairs, a season must-have. The garden chairs are a season must-have. If they feel a bit bare, textiles will come to the rescue again, and seating cushions can add additional comfort to naked timber.
Yeah, it's a big difference, isn't it? Just you know, if you're sitting on, you know, metal chairs or even timber chairs, and then all of a sudden it's just putting a cushion on makes a huge fundamental difference.
Yeah, it does, and it's another way of brightening it up as well. You know, no surprises. I've got bright lime green cushions in mine. So again,
there's a surprise.
It's all nice and pops. But everything, all the furniture is kind of like a darker shade, so the green pops it with the white cushions, and so suddenly it makes it look like another place, doesn't it? And it does create that idea and vision of another room outside, doesn't it? Which again, then you're suddenly thinking, oh, actually this house is even bigger than I thought it was, because I've got this room outside that I didn't think existed. So it does make a fundamental difference.
Well, look at Windmill Court. I mean, I went out the back garden of Windmill Court, and it was basically it's basically completely low maintenance, but they put beautiful planters and then trellises and then plant pots all the way around, and that injects the colour into that area. So bare patios, decks, and even lawns are livened up with a few summer plant pots, and a designer trick is to arrange them in threes. Who would have thought?
Yeah, three's magic number.
Yeah. That's is that no an advert or something like that?
It's a song, isn't it?
Did we get something for that? Did we get a kickback for saying that?
Maybe a go on Sesame Street or something, Jim.
All right, I wasn't thinking of that. I think a mobile phone provider. I mean, for any children's playthings, it's not realistic to move a slide or a trampoline whenever you're actually doing a viewing. But you could locate them to where it's least in the way. So don't make it the dominating feature of the back garden. Maybe stick it into the top corner on the viewing, or maybe even fold it up to the side so it's out the way against a wall. That's another way of doing something like that. So for smaller toys, keep a crate or two handy for getting them in easy order and quickly back to playtime. That's probably top tips for there. There's nothing. I mean, it's quite difficult then when somebody then comes in to do a viewing and they have to navigate their way through all the toys so they don't actually stand on them. So it is really, isn't it, Jimmy? You've probably experienced that because you've got young children.
Yeah. How
many times have you stood on Lego? Boy, that's a sore feeling.
Yeah, that's not the best.
All cars right now. But what we used to have our trampoline on the grass, but when we then took it off, it was all bare patches and really long under there and really hard to cut. So we've now moved that onto the graveled area, and it makes our grass look so much neater and tighter, and almost makes it feel bigger because it's a little bit round the corner as well. So where you position it, your toys, the big stuff like trampoline slides, can make the garden feel a lot bigger and emphasize the size of the plot as well. So it's key where you position it before you go ahead and get viewings through the door.
I mean, to be honest, it's a perfect for a family home.
Yeah.
Because if you're selling to a family, the first thing the kids are going to see is the trampoline, and they're going to go, "We want this, Mum and Dad." It's sold whether you like it or no. They've run and picked their bedrooms, and it's like, so we only have to agree how much you're going to pay for this. That's all it comes down to. So it's like difference. McDonald's. It's like what McDonald's do with the kids' meals. It's like they get them in, and then the parents are like, "Oh, I didn't really want to go there, but I want a kids' meal."
Yeah. It's like when you go to the supermarket. The supermarket's the same. Yeah, supermarket's the same, isn't it? They've got all the sweeties and everything at the counter, so the kids create havoc to get them. But I think that works as well. It's not just kids things; it's also adult spaces, because that's advice for folk with families. But those that don't, I mean, I was recently doing a viewing up at Southviews, and that's a gorgeous property. And the way they've designed the garden, it almost flows like a house. And workshops and greenhouses, you're kind of walking through the garden and they're screened off and they're at the back, and it just makes it look fabulous. And you could see it again. It's like, oh, there's a room here. And then you go to the next bit. Oh, this is another room that I can sit and dine in. You go to the next bit. Oh, this is my workshop area. And then you go to the next bit. Oh, this is my planting area. So it's almost like you've got 4 or 5 rooms in a garden, and it just makes it
clever trick. Yeah.
Really, really clever. The way that Southviews one's done is amazing.
Trick to do with gardens. You go into some of the gardens, as I said, Wimble Court, classic example. There was a seating area for the position of the sun during the evening and the afternoon. There was another seating area sitting over the other side for the sun where it comes up in the morning, and then there was also the bit at the back that had and it was really ergonomically set out perfectly well for that reason. And when you get bigger gardens as well, like you said about Southviews, it is. You could just see where you could do everything in different areas.
Yeah.
So even that one big space has really multiple functionality all the way throughout. So you're absolutely right. It is like another room, but it's outdoors.
It's fabulous.
So what else are we going to have to expect during the summer season? I think we talked about at the beginning. What are you thinking, Perry? Do we have to expect?
Well, and now, because it's brighter, you're going to have evening appointments. So it's very different to winter time. Winter, we don't have the evening appointments. In the summer, we do. And sometimes it works. And it's always a challenge in the winter, darker months, because people's working schedule. But in these times, the days are brighter for longer at night, so people want to come after work and look at the property. So, it's a big thing. With the longer days of summer, evening viewings become more popular and more productive, actually.
Yeah.
Because people are relaxed and they're not stressed about, I've only got X amount of time, because they're trying to fit it in their working day. So, they've got the time to come and actually enjoy being there and viewing the home and working out how that home works for them as a family unit.
This is where I talk about decisions are always made faster. Because you're no longer week to week viewing, because you have to do weekend to weekend, because it's darker at night. So it's now lighter at night, so the decision could be made faster, and you could almost make it there on the spot, and then go back, and then I tell you what, we'll come back, we'll drive around just later on, even though and that decision could be almost the next day. It could be there and then, actually, because they see everything in that light, and they see what's going to be like in the summer. And most people want to see, even in winter. I mean, houses always sell in winter anyway, regardless. I always say probably winter's a better season to sell, believe it or not. And I can tell you why when we get to winter. Hey, the best season to sell. But decisions are often made faster in the summer for that reason, because it's lighter, with no need to come back the day after the view for the first viewing after in the dark and stuff like that. Buyers are certain they can see everything in that light, as I'd said, and when everything looks at its best, that's the key here. That's what it does do. It just shows everything how it'll look in its best. So when you think about it, you're naturally competing against other properties on the market. And as Jimmy said, we're starting to creep up a bit more, because a lot more properties come into market at this time of year, as a result. So therefore, you've got to compete. Remember, you're competing. If somebody sees I was out the other day as well, Frontline and East Newt Village. I'm not going to tell, because I'm going to do a top secret on it soon. So watch out for that one. If you don't know what top secret is, you need to watch our channels. So I'm going to talk about that in a wee minute, but I was sitting in their garden and we were looking over the sea, and it was absolutely glorious. And I thought to myself, wow. Now, they were saying, when I said the valuation, they said, wow, that is a really good valuation. How are you coming about that? I said, well, look at this one at 525,000. Would you buy that one, or would you buy your one? And every day I would say their one. Look at this one at 500,000. Would you buy that one, or would you buy your one? Oh, I would buy my one. It's like every single day. That is why your valuation is at that value, because of where you are in proximity to everything else. And once you buy your house, you cannot get that view anymore. It's gone. You're literally right next to the sea. You can look over towards Berwick and the Bass Rock and the May Isle and everywhere. You have the best of everything here, and no one can ever replicate that because of where you are. If you look at all these others at these price points and the similar sides of the houses, they don't have what you've got, and possibly it might even go for a bit more. So that's how this time of year it's so important, because you are competing against other properties when they come on to say, well, what is your price point? What is their price point? And if they're similar, would you buy theirs before you would buy yours? And if the answer to that is yes, you would buy theirs first, then either your house is overvalued or you don't have it looking right. And that's where we come in as experts for that reason. Even the point is as well, when it comes down to that, they'll also hang around for a lot longer, buyers, to savour the neighbourhood rather than rushing home in the cold. And they'll welcome. Sometimes they'll actually go. I know a lot of people actually just go to the pub. We've got an appointment. We've got a table booked for the pub. We're going to go down there. We're going to have a drink. We're going to see what the local atmosphere is like and stuff like that. Just going to get a feel for the place. It's the most important thing ever. Whereas on colder days, it's like, oh, geez, we just want to get indoors as quick as possible. And done. Yeah. So it takes a bit longer. So this is all a lot better. So
on that note, Jim, I think your agent really needs to know their area as well, because I had that situation happen where I did the daytime viewing last week, and it was a couple that didn't really know the area, and I said to what's your plans now for the rest of your day? And they said, well, we're going to need to go and find somewhere for lunch. And so we literally came out of Links Road, and I pointed them straight to the golf course and said, right, if you go around there, you've got a nice lunch here, and if you go there, you've got a nice lunch there. So again, it's all about that thing. Then suddenly, it's not just the house that's working for them, the area is working for them. It's ticking a few of their boxes. They know where the woodland walks are. They know where they can go and get something nice to eat. They know where the local cafe is. And so it's not just about that house, it's about everything surrounding it, isn't it? It's the complete package.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they're buying it. You don't buy a house for, the rooms and the bricks and mortar. You buy it for the lifestyle it'll give you. And every single decision's emotionally led. That's really what it is. And that's why you must know that. And that's why the people that do the viewing must know that as well. It's essential and it's key in the area. It's exactly what you say. If someone's coming from outside the area, it's like they have no idea where it is. Even someone coming from Cooper, for example, to East Neuk, or from East Neuk to Glenrothes, or anything like that. I mean, there's an assumption there that they know where they are, but I often speak to people and talk about other areas they're looking to move to, and I go, oh, well, there's that, and there's this, and there's that, and there's this, and it's that great shop, and that's right. And they're like, I do not have a clue what you're talking about. And it's almost like, but you're only just 10 miles away from them. But I think it's because the amount of, I'll be honest, it's the amount of walking the streets, and in a good way, by the way, walking the streets and canvassing in the early days and putting postcards through every single person's boxes, letter boxes in Kirkcaldy and Glenrothes and Cooper and Leven and East Neuk and St Andrews. It's walking all these streets and canvassing all these doors and putting thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of postcards through everybody's letterboxes that I've been able to gain that inspirational knowledge that allows it, when I do a viewing with a person, to say that's where that is, that's where that is, and that's where that is, and this is where that is, and that's where that is. And by the way, the swimming pools are in the corner, the beach is just around there. You can go through that wee pen to get onto the high street, so you don't need to go away around to get there. You can go for that walk with your dog over there. You can go for that run. You can go for that cycle. You can go for that mountain bike experience as well. Anywhere you want, I can tell you where you can get it. Anything you want, I can tell you where you can get it. And that's exactly what an agent should be doing for you. And if they're not doing that, you just go to doorsteps and sell your house for 99 quid because you're effectively getting the same service. Well, that is nothing, by the way.
It's vital though, and I think as well when you're doing viewings with the potential buyer, it's important to understand as well what lifestyle that the potential buyer has. So are they into walking? Do they have a dog? Do they play golf? And again, you're harmonising what their hobbies are and making it look and understand how it works with the house as well. So suddenly the house becomes more, doesn't it?
And that's then the journey of the buyer experience. When they contact us, it's all about qualifying the buyer, finding out what ticks all their boxes in order to get that, in order to point out to them where everything is in that area. And that's where the key communication is. That's why we're selling a dream. Ultimately, this is the person's dream home. If you're not living in a dream home, by the way, you should be talking to us because we can help you live in your dream home. So if you're not in your dream home right now, what are you doing in that home? Move on, find your dream home. We can help that happen for you. If you're planning an outside dinner, for example, after your viewers have left, then set the table actually before they arrive. Conjure up that al fresco style living. You can see that straight away. And talking of leaving the house, it's really worth having some options where to go. It's like what you said. The kids have flexible drop-ins with any family or friends living nearby, or play dates for the kids. Is there any, one of the things I'm doing now, I'm working on the drone tour. I'm updating some of our drone tours for the Antrill and Cellardyke area, and I'm now pointing out where the secondary schools are in the drone tour. I'm now pointing out where Banky Park is now. I'm also now pointing out where the Fife Coastal Path, and then I'm updating the script for the Cellardyke Tidal Pool because it was of historic interest, but now it's been resurrected back to the Cellardyke Tidal Pool. So it's now for open water swimming as well as for kayaker experiences from the East Neuk Outdoor Leisure Centre. And then the coastal path that goes right along. So there's lots and lots of things that you can point out to people in various different ways in order to do all these different touch points, which will ultimately, it's about 9 times before somebody makes a decision in touch points now. Ultimately, by the time they get in the door, you're at number 8. So you're only needing to complete number 9 for them to get a decision made. Whereas most other people are just starting on number 1, if they ever get to number 1, to be honest. It's like the and most some people out there are actually probably agents right now will be scratching their head going, I have no idea what he's talking about. I hate to say that, but it's true, isn't it?
Especially when you talk about the video element of it, absolutely, because the video element, a lot of the feedback that we receive in the team in regards to when we do viewings is that they already, before they're in the house, feel like they've been in it because of the way that the video is done, and they feel connected with the house and the rooms and the gardens already. Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Final words for me, with everything about the summer season on your side, is a perfect opportunity to sell your home and when it looks at its best. If you're not in your dream home, you need to speak to us because we can make that happen. Perry, final word from you.
I think the final words for me is to make it fresh, make it pop, make it light, make it airy, and really maximise the space that you have and how that space can be utilised. If you can make a space look like a room, whether it's inside, outside, whatever its functionality, capture that, because other people will capture that too and they'll see it's a massive benefit.
Perfect. Jimmy, final words from you.
I would say concentrate on your outdoor space right now, especially well, both are just important as each other, but a lot of people in the summer will be doing drive-bys and walking bys and visiting the area first. So if you are on the market or considering it, make sure it's looking spick and span 24/7, because you never know when your buyer's looking and walking past or driving by your door.
Yeah, it's often, isn't it? They just see it on the internet or they see it on social media and immediately drive around and have a look at it before the board goes up or before anything happens. And a decision could be made almost there and then. That's why it's essential to make sure that your agent, you speak to your agent beforehand and say, right, am I ready to go? Yes, you're ready to go. You've got the right curb appeal. You've got the right thing. We've talked about all the light, the natural light, how to bounce that off each other and how to capitalize on that, how your garden's laid out and everything like that as well. So yes, you're absolutely ready to go. So when somebody drives around, they then say, I'm wanting a viewing. You don't want somebody to drive around and say, I'm not even contacting them, because you've no idea who that person is. That's why it's key and instrumental to do that at this point in time. Listen, if you're listening out there, if you're listening on a podcast and you're watching the show and you feel somebody else can benefit from this, please take time to share it with them, even privately, or tag them in as well, because it's important to get the best start, because to get the best price for your house at the end result, which will allow you to possibly move on to an even more upgraded house and allow you to do more for your next home and make it that dream home you've always wanted. That's us for today. Bye-bye for now, and thank you very much for joining the show.